It's this feverish pace, like it's just like cooking along. I was just absolutely floored by it.
Last weekend, we did the unthinkable. We watched not one, but 2 season finales.
Supposedly, she got so angry at him that she shit in their bed and tried to blame it on one of their animals. I'm going to rip this down.
I'll settle in.
And when I'm done, I'm going to tell you how this could have been fixed, and it could have been awesome, and they could have rode this out as long as they wanted to.
I love this.
And it would have been fantastic, and I would have ate every bit of it up.
Greetings, Long Walkers. Dave here to welcome you to episode 87. 87, as in 1987, we're talking Lethal Weapon, Monster Squad, I want to say Predator, which I've never actually seen. It's a huge year for Shane Black. You also got Over the Top. I feel like Moonlighting was on the air. My Little Sister was born. Springsteen released Tunnel of Love. The motherfucking Joshua Tree came out in 1987. We're talking about none of those things in the episode today. I'm recording this intro on January 18th, MLK Day 2021, commemorating the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who famously said, "The moral arc of the universe is long but bends toward justice." In 1968, Dr. King's widow, Mrs. Coretta Scott King, established the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, an institution whose vision is, quote, "a world that reflects the beloved community where all people are valued, respected, and treated with dignity." And quoting just a little bit more from the kingcenter.org, "In the beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood. In the beloved community, international disputes will be resolved by peaceful conflict resolution and reconciliation of adversaries instead of military power. Love and trust will triumph over fear and hatred. Peace with justice will prevail over war and military conflict." Sounds pretty great, right? Ordinarily, I might not mention that on such a generally silly show such as ours, but these are anything but ordinary times. And who knows what might happen in the next few days, but I'm hopeful we'll start bending that arc back. As for the show, after a bit of housekeeping and processing the shit show of current events, all of which I've cut out because who needs to hear it from us, we pick up with Palmer and I talking a little Cobra Kai Season 3. Just a little bit. We're saving a full conversation until we've watched all of it. Palmer shares his initial reactions to the new Stan Limited series, and a certain seminal Christmas classic which he watched for the first time recently. I give my first impressions of Warrior, the Cinemax HBO original series based on the writings of Bruce Lee, but mostly we talk about Mandalorian Season 2. It's not an episode-by-episode type thing, so don't expect that, but Palmer does give an impassioned take on what would have been an even better direction for the show to have taken, which you won't want to miss. We watch a couple of short YouTube videos together, which you can find over at youtube.com/longwalkshortdrink. Just scroll down to the videos mentioned on the show playlist if you want to see those. Now, we do start with a mid-season Cobra Kai 3 spoiler, so if you don't want to hear that, skip ahead about 4 minutes into once the conversation actually starts. But before I turn it over to the conversation, I want to tell you about my 17th annual mix album. At the end of each calendar year since 2004, I put together a mix of music that acts as a sort of soundtrack to the year that was. I mean, very idiosyncratic to my own experience. sort of like an autobiographical mixtape diary. But I've shared them with people more and more over the years. And if you want a little bit more context about that, you can find it at davidallman.net/mixalbums, where you can also link to the 16 previous entries. I'd finished my 2020 mix on January 9th, but I'm still writing the liner notes. Nonetheless, I posted the music at davidallman.net/2020mix. And depending on when you hear this, the liner notes might be there, they might not. They'll be up there soon. And a quick reminder, in case you didn't make it all the way to the end of last episode's very long outro, you can watch the 1990s adaptation of The Crow that I made with our buddy Jacko when we were teenagers. We've talked about it a lot on this show, and it often came up as like not something anyone could see anywhere. And now you can. In fact, James O'Barr's friend and collaborator John Bergen came across it on Twitter when it got put up on the 31st of October, Halloween of last year. And this is what he said. Straight from the 90s, a feature-length student film adaptation of the Crow graphic novel. The 4:3 ratio and grainy black and white couldn't be more fitting. Give it a watch. If it doesn't win your heart over, then you have no heart. How about that? That made my day, to say the least. The Lunch Meat VHS edition tape that I talked about in the outro of the last episode, that it includes that documentary that chronicles the 4 years that Jacko and I took to make this adaptation. That tape is now we're talking like March. I don't know. We'll see when and how or if that happens. But you can watch the adaptation online. It's also part of a Vimeo special edition digital package that you can link to over at davidallman.net/The Crow. There is so much Crow stuff I could drone on about that is in that special edition, but I will not take up any more time here. You can find links to all of that there, davidallman.net/The Crow. And lastly, don't forget you can watch me play my own music in quarantine concerts, available on my YouTube and Instagram accounts, both of which are just /DavidAllman. That's ULLMAN. And that is all for my shameless self-promoting this time. Remember to skip ahead 4 minutes if you want to avoid Cobra Kai 3 spoilers. We'll talk more about that in detail in the next episode, I believe. But now, enjoying the long walk already in progress.
Awesome fights, and I feel like I'm right at the episode breaking point where it's going to start really ramping up.
Did you just finish the one where Johnny opened Facebook at the end? Is that the one you saw, or you see one more beyond that?
I saw that one, and like the Cobras at the car dealership, like they.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
But that's where the last thing I saw was like, Allie Mills' friend request. And I was like, oh.
I have a theory because we already talked about how like we think that the one girl Tori is her daughter. Right?
Yeah, was that? Did we like kind of come up with that, one of us or something, or was that an internet thing?
No, it's a deep cut. But when he first looks at Allie's page on Facebook, her name is hyphenated.
Yeah,
and the hyphenated name is Tori's name.
Oh, okay. That's because then I had like twisted it to be like her last name was Mills.
Mom's last name or something like that, but it's Allie's last name. Like
okay.
It ends up being last name. So, but they show Allie's mom is like sick in bed, right?
Right, but we haven't seen her. At least the episodes I've seen, you just hear her.
I think they're gonna take a cop out that she's gonna die, and
Allie will die,
so they don't have to. So they don't have to show Elizabeth Shue.
Oh,
they couldn't get her. You know what I mean? Like they just got her likeness, and he's gonna piece it together at the last second, and it's gonna be too late. Like she'll already be dead, and that's how they get like away from like never showing Elizabeth Shue.
Shit.
We can talk about this now because neither one of us have finished.
Yeah.
There's people who know whether or not they show her, but it's definitely building up to that kind of thing. But I was like, how could they get Elizabeth Shue and not keep that and keep that secret that they've been building at that this whole time? And it just clicked with me today. I was like, oh, that could be an out. Like her mom being sick, that Johnny realizes that the connection at the last second and rushes to there, only for Tori to be like, she died last night, like in her sleep. You know what I mean?
This show would do
that's
that. Like that's just the type of shit that they pull about. Like, near
and that's how
misses.
they get it, because maybe Elizabeth Shue in real life is like, I will never fucking come do this show. Just so you know, you can pay me all the Netflix money and I won't come back and do this show. So you did Japan. And he did Japan already, right? Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he hasn't necessarily maybe he left anyway, but yeah,
that's all like such good nostalgia.
I'm so emotional about that when in a show like I wasn't even that into, and laughed my ass off. I'd have watched it. I would love a whole show of just him and Chosen and that scene in the coffee shop. I just wanted it to go on forever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was laughing so hard,
and even him and that guy in the dojo, like where
I loved all of that.
All of them together. They did such a good job of playing off of each other. They had better chemistry, I felt like, in that than they did in Karate Kid 2, when they were like antagonists with each other.
That stuff worked so much for me. Yeah. And so I'll if they got to build up to it, great. Or just if like that was all we get, like that was really worth it. So I'm excited enough about that.
That's a fan service I can get behind for sure.
Yeah. And it was effective too, and affecting, and that's important. And deepened my appreciation of that whole thing rather than kind of because that second movie really, if you watch objectively as an adult, is not quite as great as may have seemed as a kid, but this sort of continuation of it. Anyway, I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Well, I'll just keep you posted as I'm getting through the season, and you do the same thing, and we'll just take it from there.
That sounds good. Sure. And it's possible. And so it helps. Because I don't watch. I was gonna say I don't watch shows fast on my own, unless they're like on a DVD, 4x4 that I watch in the bedroom. But so the bride is watching with me, so that's helpful in terms of there being evening viewings and all that. But she surprised me. I just floated a while back, and I've been meaning to tell you, but I was like, do you have any interest in watching the Stan miniseries or whatever he calls it? And she was like, yeah, okay. I was like, oh, all right. Because she that's like her thing, really. Like she loves to be engaged in shows, and she kind of burns through ones that she watches on her own, and things aren't being produced in the same pace as they have been. And so I think if she goes for that, then that I'll let you know if like that actually happening.
If I can just push you a little bit, and this can go into the show, is totally fine. It's fantastic.
Oh, you started it? How far? Or you finished it?
No. So first off, if you're current, they put them out every week, so you don't get the full thing all at once. And it's a 9-part miniseries. All the titles for the episodes are out, and if you've read the book, then you can that they wrap up at least where the book wraps up. Based on the names of the episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a closed thing.
And this is kind of where my theory is going, especially for these adaptations, where they're going to start doing. It's not a television show, and it's not really a mini series where it's like 4 episodes, like 10-hour-long movies just broken up into serials. Or just a one-off. There's no season 2. There's no season 3. Like it's just this. It's a story that's so big. A 2 or 3 hour movie's not enough. A mini series isn't enough. But we don't want to you don't need 5 seasons of The Stand. I think that would get really burn out really fast.
Right.
But that book is so massive, and the story is so big that 9 hours is still feels like they're it's this feverish pace. I will admit, it's just cooking along, where you're just so much happens so fast, and they juxtapose the order of the book so that everything's covered. But one thing, no major spoilers, but I was telling Ash as we were, because so there's like 4 episodes out right now.
Is she watching with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
And she
fun.
loved
Awesome.
absolutely. She's like, I'm just as obsessed with this as I was with the first season of Castle Rock.
Oh,
And
cool.
So I'm kind of like, of course, being a Stephen King nerd and like telling her all the differences while we're going through and like how good some of the stuff is. And they are making really, really, really smart choices on some of the things that they've changed,
Mm-hmm.
But this is not really spoilery.
I've seen a
but, like,
preview. I don't remember much of it, but I've seen enough to know like kind of casting, if that's helpful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And all of that is super smart. But your main like apprehension for it was like it might strike a little too close to home.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a little less fiction than it was.
and you know how like in the book, that's the first like third of the book is just like from the gas pumps in Texas to like them meeting Mother Abigail and the whole death of the world. That's like the first third of that massive book where they spend so much time just about how fucking awful Captain Trips is, like how bad that plague is and how it just decimates everything. I was telling Ash, I was like, in the like updated and uncut version of the book, there's like 30 pages of just people, how they randomly die after like survive.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
They just kind of go from one to the next for
about
a little.
The little kid getting trapped in the hole and like the heroin addict who like shoots up this pure heroin that hadn't been cut yet. And like, he overdosed for no reason. And like, well, I mean, for reason, obviously he was trying to get high. But I can tell you this show does such an excellent job of minimizing the plague. Like of not, you do get like the ramifications of it, but it doesn't wallow in it. Where even I feel like the 90s miniseries spent a good chunk of time kind of like really rolling around in that like Captain Trips part of the story.
Yeah.
And this one just kind of doesn't glaze over it. You get the gist of it, but it doesn't dwell on it. It's more focused on like moving them forward into stuff. And they kind of Tarantino the timeline a little bit. And I wonder if they made that choice like after the fact, where it kind of starts with them in Colorado and it jumps back as it introduces characters to the like pre-plague, or not even pre-plague, to the like 2 months into the plague, basically. Like it's all like it's really cool. Like it's I really think they did a great choice with that. Of course, they can't not tell the story without covering the plague that happens. That's what the story's about, right?
Yeah.
But they don't. I feel like he runs it into the ground in the book, and then they even do that with the 90s miniseries. But this one, it's like they just show enough to let you know how bad it is. And they do this. Like I should warn you too, because you're a body, like you have aversions to body horror. They do this thing, and it's not in the book, and it's not in. Maybe they kind of talk about it in the book, but I don't remember it from the 90s miniseries. But one of the things that like Captain Trips exhibits is like they all get goiters. They have these giant things hanging underneath their neck. Yeah, and just gallons of snot pouring down their face.
I think I could do the snot, but I appreciate the goiter
they all get giant goiters that are just like. And one guy gets like cut in it, and it like sprays stuff. It's fucking awful. Like that was gross.
I'll brace myself.
Yeah. I think in the book they talk about how like their lymph nodes swell up so bad.
Yeah.
That's ultimate. I
guess it would be that.
But it is stellar. Whoopi Goldberg is great as Mother Abigail.
Awesome.
Yeah. The guy they got to play their interpretation of Tom Cullen is fucking amazing. Moon guy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. That's
It
exciting.
is absolutely stellar, and he's just like
Camel.
he's got this monologue that he has memorized, and he just like breaks into it, and he like that's just what he's like. Hello, my name is Tom Cullen. Please do not be afraid. I am large, but I am very kind. And he like goes through this
Oh,
whole long thing, and like it's so awesome.
that sounds
And like he gets
great.
frustrated because like people like he meets Nick Andros, right?
Hmm.
Who's deaf, and he tries to like he says, I cannot read, but I work hard. And so he starts writing, and he's like, didn't I say that I couldn't read? It is so hard to remember all that stuff. Let me just start over. Hello, my name is Tom Cullen, and it is fucking.
Oh, that sounds great. And it's so I seem to remember less and less. Like when you said Nick and I didn't remember then you're like the deaf kid. I'm like, oh right. So I am like a goldfish in that way. And so I'll probably have this thing watching the show where like it kind of comes back to me, but that I'll have largely forgotten so much of the beats of the story that it'll almost feel new.
Oh, good, yeah. They have. I'm 4 episodes in, and they have not introduced the Trash Can Man yet. So, which is exciting. So it's really unique. Like it's not really spoiling anything. It's just they have a really unique way of that they've been doing the like exposition of the story and rolling it out and showing like little vignettes of characters and they had Heather Graham had a really awesome cameo in it.
Oh, I forgot she's in it. I'm on board.
Yeah. So, so what's awesome is if Larry Underwood, the guy that writes "Baby Can I Dig Your Man,"
The musician,
yeah. So like that song is like the common vein through the Captain Trips portion of the book. You remember like every time they reference music, "Baby Can I Dig Your Man" is playing somewhere in the background, right? And so he is in New York when the plague like decimates the world. And he meets this old woman in like Central Park that he decides to go on the road with.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Remember that? And then like she commits suicide. He wakes up one morning and she had like taken pills. And like he was so angry with her because he's like, we went through that tunnel in fucking New York. That was the scariest fucking thing that either one of us had ever done. And we got through that. And then she kills herself. Like,
yes, I remember that now.
Heather Graham, that's the character she plays, is that woman. Like, and I'm like, that's where we got in life. That's how old we fucking are that Heather Graham is playing these old milfy characters. Come the fuck on.
Oh,
like,
that is a little weird. Who is Larry Underwood? I felt like that was a slightly different picture.
It's a black guy.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
He's fantastic. He's knocking it out of the park. I know that. And actually, all of them are doing great. 94 was when the original miniseries came out. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and that was weird. Like I appreciated it, for what it was and certain things about it. But it was what I didn't like was that it was, it was like 20 years after the book was written almost. So like it wasn't really representing the right kind of. Well, that's one thing I really like about Stephen. Like when going back through the Stephen King chronology was like when the films were made around the times the books were released, like it had a nice like it I don't know, it felt right, like your Pet Cemetery or that kind of thing. But The Stand was already kind of dated by the time they made the movie.
They did do a good job of I felt like the It miniseries was like that too, because they cut back. That was told in the mid 90s or the late 80s, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 1990. For some reason, that's what I think. But
and so, and it's jumping back to the 50s and the 80s. So I don't know. I agree with you. This though, they did a great job of. It feels relevant. Maybe that's because we're going through a pandemic.
Yeah. But it sounds like they've done it well.
Adepo is that man's.
Oh yeah, I don't know that name, but
he is in. Let's see what else we've seen him in. The Watchmen miniseries.
Oh, the Bride loved that. That might be a good selling point. Oh, and the Skarsgård guy. I'm just looking at the cast now.
Mother 2017.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I hear about it a lot, but yeah, I don't know
but
this guy. Oh, he's
one
in
of the star
Watchmen.
cards is in it. James
Oh.
Marsden is Stu Redmond. He plays a pretty good Stu. Man, it is just Greg Kinnear. I forgot he plays a great Glenn Bateman.
Remind me who Glenn Bateman is.
He's the old college professor that Stu Redmond meets with Kojak the dog.
Yes.
Big Steve.
Oh yeah.
So it was played by the guy in the '90s miniseries. He was played by the guy who played My Favorite Martian. Ray Walton is the guy who played Glenn Bateman.
Oh, I know who that. Yeah, I think I know who you mean now. Jovan Adepo, if I'm saying that name right, I believe he plays. I don't want to give anything away from Watchmen, but remember, I think I said before that Watchmen, the TV series, that's like it doesn't readapt the book or the comic book, or retell that story.
Picks up after, right?
I think it's like its own thing. I can't remember though where it falls, like in the chronology of however that works. But for me, had the best origin, like superhero origin story maybe I've ever seen, and Jordan Adepo plays in that origin story.
Oh, nice.
So I wonder if that will come back to me because anyway, I'm excited for this. That's great. I'm looking forward to it now.
My only complaint about it, and it's not because of her acting, she's actually doing a decent job, is it's got Amber Turd in it.
It's a hell of a name. Amber Heard. Oh, Turd.
Yeah.
Here's what you're okay.
Heard, yeah. Because that she went through a really awful like divorce with Johnny Depp, right?
Kinda. Yeah, I have a general sense of that.
And they just went through some defamation case over in London over it, and it got really ugly. I am siding with Johnny Depp though, because he claims that she's batshit crazy, made all of her accusations of abuse up, and she actually physically abused him.
I've heard. I heard something about that. Yeah.
But one of the best story, my favorite story that came out of all this is supposedly she got so angry at him that he claims she shit in their bed and tried to blame it on one of their animals.
Oh my
God! So because of that, he started passive aggressively calling her Amber Turd, and I think that is the funniest thing. Shit, pun intended. The funniest shit, pun intended, ever. So now I, of course, have to refer to her as Amber Turd.
Wow, what a shit show! But that's kind of a funny spin on it.
Yeah. So, but she actually does a pretty good job. She plays Nadine Cross, who is the
She the Gobbler? No.
The Gobbler? No.
That's just one thing I remember from the book where Larry Underwood I don't know if it's like a person he just sees once, but it's an oral sex thing. He's like, she's the Gobbler. I knew she was the type. I was just like, Jesus.
No, she's the one that finds the mute autistic kid.
Oh,
Joe.
Right. Okay.
She's supposed to be the chosen lover of Randall Flagg ultimately.
Oh yeah. Wow. It's all it kind of comes back to me, but I need a little prodding.
Yeah. So yeah, it is good. I hope I didn't spoil anything for you.
No, that all sounds enticing. That sounds great. I'm so glad to hear that. That makes me excited for it. It's so weird right now, in terms of my reaction to anything. You know, one day I could be like, "Wow, that sounds amazing." Next day I'm like, "I can't fucking deal with it."
You have not seen anything yet. We haven't even got started on the Mandalorian. And
well, it's so the Stan thing stands, pun always included or intended, to happen potentially sooner rather than later, because last weekend we did the unthinkable in the world of the Bride and television. We watched not one, but 2 season finales.
What?
In one night.
What?
And she's like, you fucking tell people this when you talk about, because she's legendary for well, I mean, in our small circle for not
She
wanting
still
to
has not
finish
watched
things.
the finale of Alias.
No,
like
and
her-
she'll put
her
off.
favorite show.
Yeah, she's never watched the finale of Alias, one of her favorite shows, and she'll sometimes not watch the season finale of certain things, like maybe a Doctor Who, like until like the next one's about to start. She loves it all so much that she doesn't want it to end. And we have a handful of shows that are, you know, like really fun for us. And if the better the show, the less likely. Well, it's not so much the better the show. If it's a really good show, it's a show we like. If it's a very limited supply, I mean, or if there's, say, only one season in reserve or something, it might be doled out very slowly to me. She'd be like, no. I'd be like, can we watch AP Bio? She's like, no. And I do think we didn't watch AP Bio even when it was on Peacock for maybe, I don't want to say a year, but a long time. And so now we're like into Dairy Girls, and there's not very many episodes of that. So I'll be like, can we watch one of those? She's like, oh no, sir. Grace and Frankie is like that. But it's so fun too when she'll be like, what do you want to watch? I'm like, I don't know, whatever. And sometimes she'll put something on. I'll be like, oh, we're watching this now. And she's like, relax. Don't make me regret this.
It's you know what's so reassuring? This is gonna sound silly, but it sounds like you have as many streaming services as I do.
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We should have cable. You guys do have cable still, don't you?
We have YouTube TV, but it's such a fucking racket. It's so much more expensive than we started.
Hulu. Just the Hulu.
We did get rid of Hulu.
I bundle all of my services through Hulu. So like Hulu no ads, Disney Plus and ESPN bundle. So that's all lumped together. And then HBO Max, and then we just added Stars and Showtime because I'm like, fuck it, we might as well have them all.
Well, that sounds
and
nice.
So
yeah.
So you get all of that, and you get it's $56 a month. And then we have like the Peacock top tier, no ads, whatever. And then we have CBS All Access, we have YouTube Premium, we have Netflix.
Oh, yeah, it does add up. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. I was so tickled. I found an app that you can search all of the content. You tell it what streaming services you have, and then it'll let you search all of them just on the app.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Don't have to jump in. Yeah.
What is it called? I'm interested in this.
You can even put it on your TV. I might have taken it on. Oh no, it's right here. Real Good. REELGOOD. Real Good. You can even put it on your TV, so you can browse it right there, and then you can give it permission. It will actually open those apps and start them and everything. But it was too intrusive for me. But the searching feature is really nice, and the genre feature is really nice. So like you can go to comedy, and it'll only show you stuff that you have access to.
Oh, wicked!
Show you it across all of your services.
Oh, wow, this is great.
Yeah. So it's a lifesaver because we'll spend more time looking for something than actually watching it. Like you do that. You ever spend those nights doing that? Like, oh, I hate it.
Well, I have such a, that's why like it ultimately our TV watching is so driven by, it's not all herd mood. Like I have these things about like that. I'm better about it now, especially through quarantine and all this. But I used to be like, that's not a weeknight show. That's a weekend show, or vice versa. Especially like I don't want to watch what I consider a weeknight show on a weekend. Anyway, so there's gets to be these weird rules. But on my own, I watch such a kind of a thematic thing that but I do sometimes need to like find. I'm like, where can I find this? Or like Warrior. I've started to watch the Warrior season or series that's based. It's the bless you, Gesundheit. Bacon powder.
Is that the Jackie or not Jackie? I'm so sorry. The Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah.
The Bruce Lee journal thing.
Yeah. So that was the same writings that he was developing that became the series Kung Fu, but it's like goes back to his original plans and yeah, I'm sure I'll talk more about it at some point. But it is well. I mean, I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes in, and right now I'm watching it on Blu-ray, which I've had for a year. But it just came to HBO Max, which actually what reminds me what wanted to ask you.
Watch it.
Oh, you should.
About it.
Oh, you've seen it? Or
no, I haven't watched it yet, but I thought I might have had some Bruce Lee that because I didn't think you had HBO Max, and I was gonna be like, oh, dude, I got this Bruce Lee thing, and I heard it's the Cobra Kai that you never knew you wanted. That's how people described it.
It is definitely a better show than Cobra Kai, but it's such a different tone. Like it's
it looks like a period piece.
It is. And that was the thing, because so if you remember from, when we were kids in the 80s and stuff, David Carradine and Kung Fu, it's this whole, wander around town. Downtown, get adventures and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of like that. But they wouldn't. Hi, Mia. I can't see her.
Come here. No, of course not. I'm in the way.
That's awesome. And you got your Mia Wallace shirt on, and we just mentioned Pulp Fiction.
She's running.
Oh, what a pumpkin. That is crazy, though, how all that came up. We mentioned Pulp Fiction. You unzip your shirt, Pulp Fiction shirt with Mia Wallace on the chest, and then Mia popped up.
She comes booping me in the butt. She does this
really?
awesome thing where she'll hit you with her nose, like, "Hey, I'm here."
That's great.
She, I have some awesome Mia stories that I could tell, but I don't want to step all over.
Oh no, hit me with one. We're
warrior, right?
We're 40 minutes away from where we want to be.
Yeah. I definitely want to check out that show. It looks fucking fantastic. I watched the trailer for it, and I actually was hoping to watch it to bring it up at the Cobra Kai episode, because I didn't even think that it would be out on DVD, because that was a Cinemax show. It started on Cinemax.
Like 2 or 3 years ago. And
they finished or cancel it before it was done.
Cinemax has decided not to make original content anymore, and so they just kind of did a thing on social media, but then the world started to burn even brighter or harder or whatever you call bad, so they it's kind of in poor taste to really push it too hard. But I think they want to, now that's on HBO Max, they want to drum up some support for it so that maybe HBO Max would put in.
And I have to tell you, there's rumors I've heard that Peacock is trying to sell, that Warner Media and Universal are discussing a potential merger, which would essentially pull all of the NBC Universal stuff in with Warner Media, which would be essentially think Peacock and HBO Max combined into one mega, all of their content that they have access to all together in one thing.
Oh.
And HBO has gone straight for the jugular at both Netflix and Disney Plus, and they are legit. They are creating all of the fan favorite things from all of the different properties that they have. So a really good example is prior to HBO Max existing, there was this DC universe that you could subscribe to, and it was essentially like a DC subscription service that you got access to a huge catalog of digital comics.
Whoa.
Essentially, but they also made actual content that comic news and articles. And then one of the other things they had was a video arm that made video media. And Doom Patrol, the first season of Doom Patrol, started on this DC Universe subscription service. Another one was this Harley Quinn animated series.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Had a huge cult following.
Yeah.
Huge cult following. And just because of that, HBO was we're going to keep making those shows. We're going to keep making. So I'm thinking that if there's a strong enough contingent of people that love this Warrior show, HBO has just been greenlighting projects. They're in that, let's just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And we're okay with that because they're fucking HBO and the shit they make is good,
Oh, so that would be great. It just, so I'll kind of set it up for you. I would recommend watching the first one. I've only seen 3, so I don't know where it goes, but the first one surprised me. The opening scene. So this was a concept that Bruce Lee developed in the 70s, but they just wouldn't bank money on a Asian lead, which they barely do now. But but yeah, so his whole thing was like, how can you have martial arts be the center of something in a world where you can just, enter the dragons? Like, why doesn't somebody take a 45 and bang, settle it, And so you always have to figure out a reason why that's not a factor. And so in this case, he was like, well, let's start in, during the time that the Chinese built the railroads and that there were, but so it turns out there's all this like gang type stuff, like wars between Chinese gangs and Chinatown. And it's a little bit corner of history, I think. Like, I don't know how much of the historical accuracy is part of it, but I think probably more than I would have thought. I don't know. But so that's a part of it. So that's kind of interesting as well. The first scene is like the guy that would be Bruce Lee's character getting off the boat to work on well, I think it's the railroads anyway. But so the first scene though, he gets into a fight, and the whole thing, like, you're just like, oh my God, I could so see how this would be Bruce Lee, the way the guy's behaving, the way that he fights. And it's a little like you just kind of take that in, and then the credits start, and then the show starts to progress, and it kind of moves from there. It kind of gives you that to like acknowledge, like, this is where we're coming from. And there's always that flavor. I can, for the 3 episodes in, I'm still kind of often imagining like Bruce Lee playing this role and how cool it would have been to see him do something like this. But it's much more sort of intriguing and complex than I would have thought. I didn't watch Deadwood, really, but it feels to me like this parts of Deadwood I've heard about and seen, because the bride watched it and loved it. So it has that sort of flavor that and I told her, like, after I've watched a few, I'm like, we don't
Oliphant in it, right? Which she can't fucking stand.
I do. That is a drawback for me, though. We're working our way towards it.
She can't stand. I thought she can't stand.
It's me. It's me.
Oh,
based on one like dumb thing, but
sorry. I thought that was because I was surprised because isn't he in Deadwood?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he's one of the main characters. So it's got that kind of vibe, and then the martial arts choreography is great. It's got incredible music. It's like it's got that. Got like, it feels sort of. I almost hesitate to say this now because of like how shitty he was to Bruce Lee, but it's got a Tarantino vibe about the kind of coolness of the music. That's the first time I thought of that. It really reminded me more of like how the blaxploitation type, like how the sort of hip hop culture embraced Bruce Lee. And so it's got this flavor of the sort of 70s type music that was in some of his early movies, but processed in this new way. I don't know. It's weird. It's like this thing that could have existed in the 70s, was developed then. It really works. For me. And there's a lot of fucking in it and nudity, which is nice.
Yeah. All right.
Because there's like brothels and stuff. Titties. And it all has like this like grounding and basis in
God, please put out that I like titties. Jeez.
Oh.
Am I allowed to like titties? I can like titties.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah. Everybody likes titties. I think even gay guys like titties for the I believe so. Yeah. I think that's right. I think that is something we can all agree on, like as a society, as a culture, as a world, perhaps.
Oh well. Yeah, I said it. It's out there. Who cares? I like them.
I back you. Anyway, but there are a lot of that, so that's kind of fun too. So I really highly recommend the few of those I've seen. It's on HBO Max now. And I told the bride too. I was like, I watched a few. I'm like, I'm not saying we should make this part of our routine, but I think you should watch it if you feel like it. If you get into I think the first episode is enough to figure out whether or not you would be into it, because I think it's different than you might imagine. And she loved Deadwood and all this, and so she may end up doing. I don't know. I'm not going to pressure her about it. And then there's a second season that I don't have on Blu-ray that I'll watch with her.
Ash has been watching just about everything I wanted to recently, so I feel like I owe her a couple. So I feel like the next couple shows we're probably going to watch are going to be from her list. But we finished Breaking Bad. And
did you watch that before? Or you rewatched it, or she hadn't seen it?
Before, so this is my second time through it. And I really wanted to watch it just so that I could see El Camino, which was the.
Oh yeah, I think we watched. Yeah, we watched El Camino.
It's like what happened to Jesse Pinkman because the
Yeah.
show it is deflating how like his send off on the show is like it's just him driving off into the night, and I get what they were going for, but it just wasn't fair. So I liked El Camino because it really gave us an opportunity to see that to ensure Jesse got a clean break from that life,
Yeah.
which is what he deserved. Because I really feel like he was one of the, if not the biggest victim of Walter White from that whole show.
Probably the heart of the show, as I look back on
Yeah.
it. I was satisfied with that at the time. I was just so happy that he didn't die. And the last time you saw him, he was like, yes, Matt's driving away. But El Camino was definitely, it was great to like see what happened next.
Yep. And I mean, yeah. So that was great. She absolutely loved that. We're trying to get to the 4th season of Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah.
But it's so infrequent because we don't catch it live. So it's so infrequent for us because their release schedule is like so spread out on when they release seasons that usually when the season is released, I want to go through everything up to that season so I remember it because it's one of those shows that every frame has an in joke for 2 seasons, 4 episodes away. Like it's it's crazy. It's very oniony. There's tons of layers, and it's a show that rewards repeat watching, which I think like Ash at any point in time could turn on an episode of Friends or the movie You've Got Mail, and I'm like, what are you getting from it on your 100th viewing? Like what?
You go to the mattresses, man.
Oh man. And so yeah, shit. She's gonna absolutely love when I tell her said that. But yeah, it is a show that's great for that. So we were watching Rick and Morty, and then we started The Stand, and she's just as hooked as I am on The Stand. It's just, it's really well done, and they did a great job of just really smart choices.
Oh, that's great. I think that might fill the Walking Dead hole in the bride's heart. That's still we still watch like those Walking Dead shows, and I think that might be appealing to her as well.
We did also watch The Mandalorian.
Yes. Which let's well, I don't know. You want to dive into that?
So okay. Before we dive into it, though, I know one of the things that's very important to you is that if you care about something or enjoy something, you don't like to be doused with like tons of negative criticism around it.
Oh yes, thank you.
Don't want to, like taint your feelings about it, which I can respect. So I have to know what your overall feeling of it is, so I know how to gauge my approach.
Excellent. That's so thoughtful of you. I liked it. I just sort of watched it and didn't really think too much about it or wasn't very affected by it. Though the last episode I notably liked the best and was the most emotionally engaged in, I would say. And there was one episode that had a Bruce Lee connection that I enjoyed. But mostly just like I liked it. I wasn't like fuck this or this is bad, but I also wasn't like this is great. So I really would just kind of there's nothing that could be, I think, ruined or lost.
I can work with that.
I'm very level playing field for it.
So I'm with you. I really enjoyed the episode you're referring to with the Bruce Lee connection. That was like an amazing old samurai movie.
Yeah.
Just like so good. Even like the architecture of the planet that they were on reminded me of like feudal Japan almost.
Oh, right.
No, it's fantastic. That episode was fantastic. The Bill Burr episode.
Yes, I liked that too. Yeah, I forgot.
And Ash and I are absolutely in love with Bill Burr. his rants are just like they're just epic, and he's just so angry all the time, and just like but he does a really like he's not he sounds like Archie Bunker, but he's not a bigot. You know what I mean? Like he's not like
Yeah, I think so, and I think I've not heard him enough to feel the same like unabashed fondness. I'm always like, I don't know this, but I that moment in that show though when he was like, because he kind of seems to play like a version of Bill Burr in space.
Yes,
and when he like shot that guy, I was like, oh, I'm all right. Turned around on him.
Yep, absolutely. I thought that was fantastic. Coming, like, so the last episode was spoiled for me.
Oh yeah. How far like after did you watch it, or was it like spoiled instantly?
It wasn't spoiled instantly. There was definitely a gap where I should have caught up with the show and I would have been okay. But there, like, eventually Mark Hamill like tweeted out about how he actually, what spoiled it was the tweet about how grateful he was that his being a part of that was kept a secret for over a year and not spoiled for anybody. And that's what spoiled it for me.
Oh man. The only thing I saw was I saw Mark Hamill tweeted, anybody seen any good TV lately? And there was a line in one of the things that I think I misunderstood about like needing to take the kid to some sort of place where there's like strong Jedi powers. I was imagining it was going to be like the island that Luke was on or was teaching Jedi at, or so that was like that insinuation I was hoping. And then I saw his tweet, anybody seen any good TV shows lately? I'm like, oh, we're going to see Luke Skywalker. It didn't play out the way I thought, and I think I was confused about some of it. But yours was so much more like explicit.
Yeah,
that sucked.
Yeah. So that was coming into it. I don't know if I said this to you yet before, but I really feel like I need to take a break from Star Wars.
Oh wow, that sounds like so sad and declarative.
I can't enjoy it anymore. Rise of the Skywalker, I had an amazing experience with an amazing group of people surrounding that film, but in my time since then, to where I could get to like look back and kind of dissect the film, there's some really major problems with it, like serious problems that I feel could have been done. Choices could have been made better. I think we got a little bit shortchanged on that last episode. And I think I was so 100% bought in on Rian Johnson's vision with The Last Jedi and like trying to break and explore beyond. Like I said to Ash today, we've had 9 films totaling countless hours that have centered around one family, essentially.
Yeah,
you know? Like in an entire galaxy far, far away. There's a 1,000-year-old religion that exists in this universe, and we've only really explored one family over the course of 40 years. That's fucking outrageous.
Yeah,
that's so outrageous. So I'm just I am concerned that I am such a cynic right now for whatever reason that I am going to just become one of those toxic Star Wars fans, and I hate them so much that I can't let myself become one of them.
That seems like a good choice. I mean, in terms of like those two options.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm totally stepping all over any of your reactions that you would be given about this, but like,
no, that's okay. This is what I'm here for.
Like tears were rolling down on my face while he was fighting the Dark Troopers. Like
Luke Skywalker. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like tears.
Yep,
pouring down my face.
Me too. And I was like I was so ready for the theme, you know.
Yeah. It's like his X-wing comes like flying in. and you're just like, I know whose fucking X-Wing that is.
That's right.
And they're all like, who the fuck is this guy? Because nobody knows who Luke Skywalker is. That's what they're illustrating, is like, Luke Skywalker is our fucking world, right?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
nobody there knows who he is. That's
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
all right. So that feeling right there, just remember that. Because I'm gonna rip this down.
I'll settle
And
in.
when I'm done, I'm gonna say, and this is how I feel like all of this could have been avoided if they would have done this. And I'm gonna harken back to that feeling, that realization. For that moment, we're in on a joke that the rest of the universe that we've been living in isn't in on. We know that's Luke Skywalker. They have no fucking idea who that is.
Right.
They might not know what an X-Wing is, right? Like
it's a rebel fighter. Do you know that joke when Logan said that to Kristen?
Okay. So all this is great. He fights. There's this amazing. I was looking at this on. Let me drop this in. Copy. So this is somebody took the Darth Vader kill shoot scene from Rogue One. Oh wait, it's the deepfake. Don't watch the deepfake yet. I don't want you to watch the deepfake yet. I want you to watch the oh shit, I know what I need. Hang on. That one is going to be, that's part of what they could have done if they wanted to stay with what they did. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I sort of feel like it's going to look better.
It looks a million times better. And I'm going to tell you, that's my biggest complaint. It's so off-putting to me at how bad his de-aging was that it ruined it for me.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to derail though your whole thing. Like, I'm ready for the journey.
So I mean, that's what it boils down to. So this happens, right? Let me see if there's another one from earlier in the day. No. Okay. So this has to be it. Yeah. So this person took the scene from Rogue One where Darth Vader kills everybody in that hallway.
Yeah.
And spliced it right next to Luke's scene from the end of Mandalorian.
Oh.
So it's like Darth Vader, father, and the son. And then watch how similar they are. It's amazing.
Oh, interesting.
All right, so let's on 3. We'll just play this and we'll just go through this.
Okay.
This is like all awesome up to this point. All right. On 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Start.
Blaze Lair. Oh wow, it's so cool how the angles sort of complement each other with the lightsabers. Holy shit! This is incredible.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, there it is. All right, so I apologize. I'm done. That's
wow.
Good enough. So really cool, right? Even while I was watching it the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, they totally lifted that whole Darth Vader scene for this choreography to draw a connection between father and son, fighting on both sides of the Force, but how their styles are similar, which is awesome because they only fought each other twice. So Luke's only seen Vader fight, and that was at the end of his life when he really wasn't at his prime.
Right,
Even
right.
as Darth Vader, right, wasn't
Yeah.
at his prime. And so
That's always bugged me about the Rogue One thing, because you see that and then it goes right into New Hope. But so like an hour and a half later, he's already at that like barely able
oh
to...
yeah, he's like yeah, he like can't fight really.
Yeah. I mean,
know,
you can't.
awful.
I mean, you can't have everything, obviously. But anyway,
So
sorry, sidetrack.
so yeah, so it goes through all that, and he takes off his fucking hood,
And that
and
happened.
it just
Yeah.
as soon as that hood came off, I was instantly disgusted.
Yeah, me too.
And the CG was the reason why I was disgusted. But then what really like in the pit of my stomach bothered me was that Disney literally established a precedent that the worst of Star Wars fandom can complain enough to get what they want. Because that was at that point I realized I got angry about that the fact that they lifted the choreography from Rogue One. They couldn't even give Luke they probably just recycled some of the CG and stuff and just like put new mats and new skins on it. And it's like to lean on father and son are going to fight similar.
Yeah.
No, he just wanted to fucking save money, you douchebags. Like you've been doing that since the 1930s when you've been recycling your animation cells from. They have proof of you doing that from I think it was Robin Hood used a lot of similar stuff for. There was another feature that they had animated, but they were the same. They just retextured the characters basically. Huh. And I'm like, they probably fucking did that for some of the shots in those fights. Like they just retextured stuff that was already CG. And then his mouth didn't sync up right with the words, and just you're Disney who invented animation, yeah. This film who literally invented the idea of computer generated effects. And you want to give your fans this service, put $1 billion into that shot, into that scene, make that look as good as possible, right? And so then that takes us to now the other YouTube one,
the deepfake one.
Yeah, the deepfake one. So if go ahead and if you get that one synced up to 0000.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Are you a Jedi?
I am.
It looks better.
Yeah.
Come, little one.
The textures are better.
He doesn't want to go with you.
But it's still not 100%. Wait till he talks.
Permission.
See? It's still
I
the same.
see.
He is strong with the Force. But talent without training is nothing.
But it does look better.
I will give my life to protect the child. But he will not be safe until he masters his abilities.
You go on.
I'm going to bed.
I'll see you again. I promise.
Oh yeah, I can see it there. In particular.
May the Force be with you.
Huh.
So, all of this really, in all of these rapid fire, I start to have this resentment. And a lot of it is stemming from the fact that Disney caved, and they didn't even cave well. That it felt just as spiteful as Lucas putting the original when everybody wanted digital copies of the original on DVD, and he literally put the mono version of he didn't even say A New Hope on the crawl, right? Okay, you want an original, I'll give you the original print it ran the first day. And that and I will cherish those because that's the closest I'll get, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But this feels just as spiteful where they're just all right, you wanted it, here you go, but we're still gonna stay at a television budget to make it happen. And it's that really, it just bothered me on a lot of levels. And I know, and again, I'm trying not to sound like one of those whiny Star Wars fans. Too late. I get it.
You're invested. That's
But it
that's
really,
the whole point of fandom.
it really, but I just started thinking back, and this whole past year, like 2020, of course, has been awful for a lot of things. But there were some really troubling things that came out of Star Wars news over the course of 2020 that I feel like this thing with Mandalorian that happened was a test, I feel like, and it's a sign, a synthesis of this news that I don't necessarily agree with or like coming out of Lucasfilm. I have links to all these articles that I've referenced throughout the year that I can share if you want to see them. But like, it really started with there was some almost immediate backlash to Rise of the Skywalker. And I feel like Disney needed somebody to blame, and they wanted to blame Kathleen Kennedy for it because she fought so hard for Rian Johnson's position. So Disney felt like their problem was they needed to clean up the mess that got created with The Last Jedi, with Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. And they couldn't see the vision that she was trying to support in Rian Johnson's Last Jedi. And they felt that they needed, it's been proven that the film was essentially written by a board of people making the what they felt were the best commercially viable decisions for the movie.
The Rise of the Skywalker?
Yeah. And that's another troubling, like another thing that now they're just planning for fan service. Let's cobble together all of the most fan servicey things into one movie and make that happen. And I'm trying not, because I know you like Rise of the Skywalker, and there are things I really like about Rise of the Skywalker. I just don't think it does well as a Star Wars movie in some aspects. And I definitely don't think it did a fair job of wrapping up this amazing trilogy that got started with the first two movies.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, I've heard that sentiment about like these three new movies a lot. It's weird, like more so now than, I mean, there were people are upset right away, but I feel like there's been like more dissatisfaction as time goes on.
And I really enjoyed everything. Like I liked Solo. I think that contributed to part of it. Like Solo is what really killed the expanded universe of movies that they were planning at that time, because that did so poorly. And then it came out that they found out that it was really just like bots had brought it down, like negative comments on social media that were just made by bots, basically.
Whoa! Oh no!
What generated a lot of that like malaise about it.
Yeah,
that led to it failing, and so then that leads to them deciding that we're gonna, Mandalorian season 1 totally. They're like, this is the direction we're going. They're like, they've said like television, these like serial episodes of the Star Wars universe are what we're going to focus on right now. And when you look at their expanded slate of stuff Lucasfilm is putting out over the next 4 years or so, there's only one Star Wars movie on that whole thing, Rogue Squadron. That's it. And all the rest of them are television projects. Like
okay. Yeah.
You're getting the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. You're getting the.
I'm here for that though. Put
I know
that's
beard. Awesome. And I got excited when I heard Hayden Christensen's coming back as Darth Vader.
Yeah,
that really excited me a little bit.
I caught wind of that, and then like when the hood was gonna go up, it was so weird because like my timelines are all fucked up and everything. But when I just saw the bottom of what turned out to be Luke Skywalker's CGI jaw, I was like, is that Hayden Christensen? Like, is this going to be Hayden Christensen? I knew he was like back involved. Yeah. My real hope for that moment was based on this incorrect timeline, was that I thought it was going to be Mark Hamill, probably looking like we saw him in the sort of projection of himself in Last Jedi, where he like that kind of shorter hair, like not quite as old, but like still able to kick ass. basically, I thought it would be around the time before like Kylo Ren killed all the Jedi and stuff like that. I thought it was like near then. So I think if it had, that was what I was responding to. I was like, oh shit, we're going to see him. And if that had been the Luke Skywalker that we saw, I think I would have just continued to bawl. I did. So I deflated, and then R2 came around the corner, and then I was like, oh, I was like, what the fuck?
Yep.
A fucking trash can just moved me more than this goddamn CGI bullshit.
And then there was rumors that they were trying to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy and were offering her job to just about anyone in Hollywood, and nobody wanted to take it. Like they tried to offer it to J.J. Abrams. And some of this stuff is speculative, but it's all stuff that makes you wonder, right? And
yeah, I mean, I hadn't heard all of this. Like, I think you might be building towards some of what you had shared with me at some point. But when I'm hearing just like the kind of business sense of it all, which I have none, and I have a lot of contempt for, I guess. But it sounds like one of those things where you're like, yeah, you need a fall guy, or if like somebody appears to be the one that fucked up that you can point the finger at, they got to fire somebody. So it sounds like that was her with all of this.
Getting to Kathleen Kennedy. And so then it was, this rumor came out where, have you ever heard the name Doomcock?
Sorry. I had it previously. I think maybe you told me about it before, but
I'm pretty sure I don't even know. I'm pretty confident he's a YouTube content creator, but he gets a lot of like really good Hollywood gossip. And a lot of it tends to be accurate when the laundry comes out, right?
Okay.
And so this is a story that reported a rumor that Doomcock had put out. But basically, Disney went to Lucas and said, we need you to come fix Star Wars. And he had 4 demands that if he was going to come back, they had to meet. And the demands were, I get to make my sequel trilogy, because there's an interview with him where he says he was heartbroken selling Star Wars to Disney. And then there was another interview that he gave where he said, I felt betrayed when I saw the new Star Wars trilogy. So his first condition was, I get to make my sequel trilogy. Condition 2, I have full creative power until I decide to hand it off. Condition 3, Kathleen Kennedy is gone. Condition 4, Disney agrees to never, ever mess with the original trilogy, leaving it untouched. And when I saw those 4 things, they literally dashed all of the things I loved and were hoping for the like growth of Star Wars. So this story goes on. It's a good read. It's a lot of rumor. It was posted back in July, and Kathleen Kennedy obviously is still running Lucasfilm, although the article alludes to at some point she will leave on her terms. Like that's the plan, right?
Yeah.
Well, shit. I mean, you know what? Someday I'm going to leave my job on my terms. You know, like, anyway, all that, when I saw that really shitty CG and Luke Skywalker being there, it really confirmed a lot of this malaise I had been feeling about Lucasfilm, that Disney at the bottom line, no matter what they say, are going to cave to the squeakiest wheel in the Star Wars fandom. And now with the success of The Mandalorian, there's a lot of buzz that what's happening is that they're trying to generate the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but in the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, by
I can see
creating all these projects that are all kind of linked together in some overarching grand thread that gets paid off years down the road after you have like hours of content and billions of dollars raked in, you know, which really worked for the Marvel universe. And I don't know if I want that kind of treatment for Star Wars, like
Yeah.
again, it's like we've always said those three original movies will always be there, and my love for them will always be there. So that's where part of me is just like, just embrace those three films and just kind of keep it at that, and just, like, just stop with the consuming of the new stuff, stop consuming all the merchandise. It's just permeates everything and becomes this, like, it's like Coca-Cola was in my mid-20s, where finally I was just like that was every present people, like, anybody would get me was Coca-Cola themed, like every Coca-Cola everything. And eventually I was just like, like, enough, like I'm so like, I don't need any more Coca-Cola stuff. And I feel like it's starting to get to that level of saturation with Star Wars, and it really breaks my heart. Like, I was really bought into this new boundaries that Ryan Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, I feel like, were trying to create, and Disney pulled the plug too soon on those because they were more worried about money.
Yep. Yeah.
And that is enough for me to be like, I don't need to get spun up on this stuff, and get, like, I can just keep the three movies that I love. Like I told Ash, I said, I loved Star Wars all my life growing up, but I was 17 before I could access those movies anytime I wanted to. Like, it was a treat when I ran across those movies, like a free HBO weekend that they happened to have, like, Empire Strikes Back over that weekend, or like you went to somebody's house and they had, like, these rare VHS copies because that wasn't a mainstream thing yet, or like somebody had them recorded on the, like, SLP mode to fit all three movies on one VHS tape, like with or whatever. Like it was not a rate where you could just watch Star Wars anytime you wanted to, until I was well into an adult, or close to being an adult, I guess, like 16, 17. And I think that's part of what helped generate, like, all that mystique about it, because you couldn't access it anytime, and now it just being this, like, huge thing, it just, I don't know.
I think I could definitely empathize with what I'm hearing, and I think maybe I said it's so difficult for me sometimes to regulate my own reactions, because I remember you sharing that article and I read it and I had my own feelings about it, and I said something to the cast thread that I was just like, I hope this isn't too harsh, but like this, I can't remember what it was, but it had something to do with being young or nostalgia, and I cannot. I have to imagine I've heard this somewhere, but I just don't know where. So I'll pass it off as not my own, but perhaps something everyone realizes at some point. But it feels like nostalgia, especially for like films and creative things that you consume when you're young. It's like, it's not. I don't know that it's as much about, at least for me, I'm realizing it's not so much about the thing itself as like, or the time in which it was created. People are like, oh, it was a different time, it was a better time, it was a simpler time. Yeah. I think it's just like, it reminds me of like how I felt at the time, and the complexities and negativity around, and the money, and that I didn't realize was at play in these things. Or I was just, it reminds me of a simpler time in my own sort of inner life. I'm not saying this very well, but
I escaped into movies as a kid. Like, they were like, some kids read or drew or whatever, and movies were my thing. And so when my form of nostalgia with movies is, when I watch a nostalgic movie, it makes me feel like that movie did the first time I watched it, the first time I escaped into it. And like, its ideas and universe made me think differently than my reality. Like, this escapism really paid off for me. And when something is jarring as like Luke Skywalker's face is iconic to me.
Oh yeah, he's one of
And
the most beloved characters of all time. Yeah.
and when his mouth is obviously a cartoon that is not done very well or match up with the dialogue that he's talking, it is off-putting to me. I mean, I feel like if I had the artistic abilities, I could close my eyes and draw a portrait of Luke Skywalker. Like that's how ingrained his image is into our faces,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You gotta nail that shit, and they didn't. They just didn't.
I didn't get the
And
sense that he was even there. That Mark Hamill had anything to do with it.
It was two stunt doubles that provided the body, and then they composited they de-aged his face. He provided the voice, I think, is what he did. And
okay. Because even that, I would believe that they just cobbled together through the programs that you can, just stitch together people's voices to get the right age or some shit.
So there's an article that I have also here that it's called that CGI character appearance was really weird. That's the name of the article.
Yeah.
And then it talks about but he was there to consult on what his character would have done with the two stunt doubles that were fighting the body portion, and then I don't know.
That's like suggesting that he could choreograph the fight. He doesn't know how to. I mean, I don't want to disparage Luke Skywalker. Never mind. I'll just stop there.
I mean, did he choreograph the death scene, the death hallway with Darth Vader at Rogue One? Because I'm sorry, the choreography is too similar for it not to have been a direct lift between those two things. So, all right, I'm all this bitching. Palmer's gonna fix it. All right, I'm gonna tell you.
I love this.
I'm gonna tell you how this could have been fixed, and it could have been awesome, and they could have rode this out as long as they wanted to, and it would have been fantastic, and I would have ate every bit of it up. All right, so everything's pretty much the same. The TIE fighter. No, I keep saying TIE fighter, but the X-Wing flies in, and that's where we get we know who the fuck that is. But then it's really quick that nobody else does. The audience is in on this, right? And then the show maintains that as long as possible. Just show small little glimpses, like awesome stuff. You could still do the homage to Vader's scene from Rogue One if you wanted to, but don't do the whole fucking thing. Just little shit. And like, don't show anybody's face. Don't show it. Like, we know the whole time it's Luke Skywalker, but don't give any outright confirmation that it's Luke fucking Skywalker. All right. Have it set up that shit all goes dark. And there's a showdown where he's in his hood walking back to his X-Wing with the kid under his arm. And the Mandalorian's got him dead to rights, like with his like phaser in his back, right? Ready to like take him down for the kid. And like the kid stops the bolt shot in the air, just like Kylo Ren does, like right when the man is about to take him down. And then he knows that the kid wants to go. They don't have to communicate any of that. They don't have to say it. We're intelligent people. We can figure this out.
Yeah.
But he knows the kid stopped the bolt and stopped him from dying. And Luke doesn't acknowledge the Mandalorian at fucking all. He just walks out with his green fucking lightsaber in one hand, the kid in his arm, and his black fucking robe, and the doors closed behind him, and that's it.
You never see his face?
Never see his face. Never nothing. We know it's Luke Skywalker the whole fucking time. But now you've established this mystery that the Mandalorian who took the kid? Is he a Jedi? You can bring Ahsoka Tano can come back and be like, no, he's okay with where he is. Like, he wanted to go. They could do that exposition in season 3 where she meets up with them and explains, No, he wanted to go. That's exactly where he needed to be. He's who he needs to be with right now. Like, you need to let that go. And that's what all of season 3 is Mando pining over the kid, like the loss of the kid, right? And we know the whole time that there's no way he could have ever kept that kid and been okay, right? So, all right, but here's the thing here's why you do it that way. Because then the showrunners, the whole time for the next 3 or 4 seasons, just deny. That's not Luke Skywalker. That's not Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill control us over Twitter for those few seasons.
We'd love that.
He trolls us that whole time, and you don't show his face until now. Enough time has progressed in the show that he can actually play in real that 30 or 40 something Luke Skywalker in that middle ground. The time period has come enough. And then they confirmed that was Luke Skywalker. And now our imagination goes back to every time, because here's the beauty of it. It's a Western, right? Mandalorian's a Western.
Yeah.
So up to that point, Luke Skywalker's character is referred to as the mysterious stranger. He just shows up every now and then, and it's like this Deus Ex Machina for the Mandalorian, and that's because Luke Skywalker is continually saving him for the kid, to get the kid to cooperate with his training. And so he keeps showing up as this mysterious stranger, and the Mandalorian doesn't know if he's good or bad, doesn't know what he's doing, just wants the kid every time he sees him. He just wants to get information out of him on where the kid is, right? But this guy, this black hooded figure, just shows up at random times for 1 episode or 2 episodes every season, cleans fucking house and disappears like a fucking Jedi. Who's in hiding, right? Who's in hiding. And until that last end, they finally reveal that it is Luke Skywalker. And then our imaginations fill in all those gaps. And they're like, I fucking knew that fucking awesome time in season 3 when he fucking did that awesome thing. I knew that was Luke Skywalker. I fucking knew it was Luke Skywalker. That would be so badass. And could you imagine Luke being referred to as the mysterious stranger for in this Western in the Star Wars universe?
Kind of the man with no name, or the man in black, dare I say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're the only ones that are in on the joke. We get it. We know who that is. We know why he's so badass. We know why Mando shouldn't mess with them. We know all that shit.
That is a great. I would like to see that show for sure. Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe you know how this show works. Whatever that listener is out in California, we may end up seeing parts of that play out.
Yeah, how it happened.
How did you feel about the Boba Fett stuff?
I loved all that. I honestly thought it was great. It was that last 5 minutes ruined everything for me.
Yeah, it was I had no idea even what he was saying. I was just so sort of taken aback, I guess. And then I knew when I'm watching it,
if anybody is gonna hate this as much as me, it's gonna be Dave, because it's the CG.
Yeah, it was not, and it was not for me, that part. And I don't like I like Rogue One, but I don't like the Peter Cushing thing. I don't like I just don't want that. I don't know. If they can avoid it, I didn't mind so much in Rise of the Skywalker where there was a flashback with Luke and Leia, because that was just kind of a fun, I don't know, I accepted that. I'll accept it in small doses, and I guess this was a small dose, but I don't know. It does. The problem is it just takes me out of it, and I'm sure that there's
exactly what my problem was. Yeah,
I wonder if haven't seen that those clips from is it The Last of Us, The Last Among Us that we watched with Twinkie, that really realistic. Yeah, so it's I wonder for people who are accustomed to video game graphics and stuff like that, if it's less troubling, or if they still experience that same kind of uncanny valley if that's the right term, when you were like put up against like human, live action actors and stuff.
So here's the thing, though. The Last of Us makes me bawl like a fucking baby.
Yeah,
when I play it.
Yeah, that was very affecting to see.
And it's not off-putting to me. Pixar movies aren't off-putting, right? Like,
yeah,
there is a level of that animation that can still strike an emotional chord. Up, I would argue that the first 20 minutes of Up are some of the most emotional storytelling I've ever seen on film. Like, it's outrageous. It's gut-wrenching.
Just checking to see if I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so Pixar is Disney, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's weird. So, like, you would think that, I don't know. We just watched Soul. That's one of that movie, the Pixar movie. So The Bride sprung that on me out of nowhere. Where it's like, we're watching this now. I was like, we've never discussed this. I didn't even know this existed. What's this now? Oh, this is amazing. The music's by Trent Reznor. What the fuck is happening? And it's like jazz
really? music. Oh, now I have to watch it for sure.
Yeah.
It's all, we just haven't got around to it yet. Is it good?
I liked it. Yeah. I mean, it was one of I literally didn't know I was going to watch it a moment before. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I haven't seen very many Pixar movies, all things can, like Coco. I can't tell you how much I've heard about Coco. Good, always good. Like some of the best I've ever heard about any movie, but I still haven't seen it.
That one's like an emotional roller coaster too.
Yeah, Inside Out must be a different studio. Anyway, but
Inside Out.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, that's them, I think.
I was just looking at the ones that, but anyway, so
Up though. You know what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Up,
and
right?
like that's what I mean. Like those movies, they are. I think generally they have to be. I don't know if they're made by committee, but it seems to me like they would be because of all of the coordination that has to go in. Like, you're not going to get like improvised shit, like that stuff has to be so carefully planned and executed,
Between a board writing a script and Pixar ensuring that they are telling good stories, because that's their philosophy, is like they don't move forward with a movie. There's a really famous story that before Pixar really became Pixar, the four like founding fathers of Pixar went to this diner and literally sat down and penned out the idea for their first like group of movies. They came up with the idea for Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., a couple other ones, all in that one breakfast. They sat down and they were like these four guys, but their whole philosophy was we don't move until we have a good story. And I think going through a brain trust is what I would equate that to. Like they are a group of really collectively collaborative people that can elevate each other like as a group.
Yeah.
I think that's much different than what I have heard descriptions of how the Rise of the Skywalker was put together, where there were actual board members making decisions based on how much revenue it would generate. If it pleases, like if we do this, our statistics are going to show that this demographic is going to be happy with this decision. So if we put these things in, that's going to, so then they like cobble all these elements together. Like, all right, now bring in the writers to take these. We need to make sure these things are
stitch them
put
together
on a thread, like stitch them together with a thread,
Wow.
And there's a difference in those two processes. I feel like.
I could hear that. Yeah, and then they seem definitely like Pixar would be the one to model, but I can kind of imagine. Yeah, and it's all just like wild. Well, it's my wild conjecture based like on the things you're telling me and my general observations, but it seems like they are, following that, trying to follow parts of that successful Marvel model. With like the Rian Johnson, you'd get like the thing that the Marvel was doing with like hiring essentially an auteur type person to like do their thing with a highly desirable intellectual property of theirs, but then they kind of backed off from that
Yep.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you got to play it over time. I don't think you could have just rocked Thor Ragnarok. Like, I don't know, maybe
No.
though, because it's so goddamn great.
It is fantastic,
But it's weird, you know. I don't know. You got to kind of lay the track for that, I think.
I think to get back to your point though, about the uncanny valley, I don't think it's a matter of that. I think it was just poorly done because we can't emotionally, we can have our heartstrings pulled. There's no, like, if you look at the characters from Up, there's no human being that is structured that way. Like, his jaw is 2/3 of his face, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, but he'll make you bawl like a baby,
right? Yeah,
it's because it's executed well. The whole package is executed well.
Yeah, they set up the world that you kind of. I think it's the juxtaposition of the two. You know, it's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit is not that different than what they're doing with. Not different enough than what they're doing with things like putting these actors in. I mean, sometimes it's done better than others, and I think sometimes it's more. I mean, I'm able to overlook it at different situations more than others, but this one was it didn't work for me.
What would have been wrong with just getting a young actor?
Right, I would ultimately prefer that.
Like, I know why they don't, because we would be the minority. I'm sure people would have a much harder time accepting somebody else being Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill included. I think he would have been very vocal about that. But I mean, how many like Doctor Who fans, right? They get a new doctor, like playing essentially the same character, right? But it's a different actor every time. So like, I just don't understand how hard that would have been. Like, he's an archetype. Like, Luke Skywalker is an archetype, intentionally picked. He was picked because he looked like an everyday kid, right? So don't tell me that there's not a 20-something, a late 20-something actor who's blonde hair, blue-eyed, and has that, who could have just pulled that off for the one scene you needed them.
Oh, and especially for that little time. I mean, they could have found that.
Yeah. And then again, it would have been really easy. You could have even had the actual Mark Hamill doing all of that stuff if he was the mysterious stranger, because he's not like,
that is a better way. It's a better move. It's so sad. Like the deflation. I feel it. I think I'd not take a different approach. It just sort of hits me in a different way to where I'm just not, the truth of it is I'm just not very invested in any of the extended Star Wars stuff. I really am invested with the Skywalker family, but I became invested with the new characters. Like, I care a lot about Rey. I care about Finn.
You're never going to see them ever again, though.
I know that sucks.
You're never going to see anything with them ever again.
I don't know.
You're in the minority. Like,
I know, but things change. 20 years from now, people get nostalgic for them. But
I mean, the prequels are what they're catering. That's the audience they're catering.
Yeah,
to.
Right.
Because there is a group of kids who are now adults that really like the prequels are their Star Wars movies.
Yeah. It's weird. I spent a lot of time watching right now, like, my new bedtime thing is to watch the old monster movies I grew up on again, because like I just want something to kind of drift off to sleep, and that I don't have associations with. It's just kind of comforting, and those are that for me as like, I guess they're dark movies and stuff. But I mentioned that only to say that was sort of my first introduction to a kind of a chronology. Like those movies, the Universal, like they tried to restart it, like with the Universal monsters to kind of build their own universe, but people are just not having it, which I understand. I mean, I wasn't having their iteration of that anyway. Didn't interest me, but I mean, it interested me as an idea, but their execution of it was not great. Right. So watching these old movies and hearing the stories behind them, and then the bride and I were watching a lot of old Christmas movies, and I can't remember, I think it was the Christmas in Connecticut that we watched, where the whole thing was like built around this idea of who this writer for a magazine was and how she embodied this idea of this home cook. It was this whole like image, that would today be something like an Instagram influencer, but it was a lie, and I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but so it's a fun movie, but the things that they're talking about and the way that they're equating like circulation of the magazine to being super important, that they keep up this ruse with someone. I was just like, you hear these really old Hollywood stories, like almost 100 years ago in some regards, and it's the same shit. It's just different. Yeah. It's just sort of different delivery mediums. It's like it's always kind of trying to cater to consumption, and then the bottom line, and then sometimes like art happens, but it's just they not cater to the bottom
line, but it's all centering around. It's just consumable. Let's create a consumable that
appeals to the highest number, that you can sell the most, and it's a bummer when it really comes down to that for things that ultimately you become so deeply invested in. The bride is going to bed. She's like, slightly less volume because Jesus, you're yelling. We're talking Star Wars, baby. Crush dreams and empires.
Oh man. Yeah. So bottom line was the 30 seconds of CGI totally ruined it, and I think might have pushed me away from Star Wars for a little bit.
You gotta take a break.
Yeah.
Like Ross and Rachel.
Yeah. So we watched it's funny too, talking about that old stuff. First off, I heard that Universal is putting all of those monster movies on YouTube for free. Like you can just watch them.
Really? That's great.
Yeah.
I just ordered I ordered some pre-Universal because I'm starting with the silent ones, which are really great for falling asleep too for me. Out. But well, that's awesome though. I'm delighted to hear that.
So there was that, and then what was the other thing that I was doing? Oh, speaking of watching old stuff, over Christmas, we watched It's a Wonderful Life for the first time. Did I talk about this on
the first time? I didn't watch that growing up.
I'd never seen that ever.
Oh, that's great.
And so, like, if anybody's listening to this right now and you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, it really was this, like, amazing release after such an awful year. Because it really, like, I think it was the perfect year to watch it for the first time. Even now, I think if you watched it, because it takes place at Christmas, but it's not really a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I suppose not. I mean, it is sort of in the way of like Christmas Carol, where it kind of imagines this alternate path, and then you realize the joy of living.
But I feel like every time he comes in Christmas Carol, he's coming back to a different Christmas of his life.
Oh, and, you're right. It doesn't even really take place at Christmas.
No, it's just like the last scene, like where it happens to be Christmas Eve is when he decides he's going to commit suicide.
Right.
And so that's the like catalyst of the story. And I was just absolutely floored by it. It really was just this amazing story, and just after watching it, like I kind of used to scoff at it. Even Ash said that, where it was like, when you're a kid or younger, even like a young adult, even you just can kind of look at down your nose at some of that sentimentality, right? And just like, and I don't know, man. It just hit me. It was just this, like, it was one of those movies that finds you at the, like, when you need to watch it,
Yeah.
And like, it really was great. So I would highly recommend to anyone, if you have not seen it, now is a great time to watch it for the first time. And don't get turned off because it's a quote unquote Christmas movie, because it really, Christmas is like is the smallest theme in the whole movie.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that before, but I'm realizing more and more how right you are. Really. It takes place at winter,
so,
if nothing else.
yeah.
So.
Well, the last scene takes place at winter, but none of the other scenes, because it follows
right.
this guy's life like throughout time, like throughout his whole life, basically.
Yeah.
And because his guardian angel in training needs brought up to speed on what on this man's life, and so they watch his life throughout time, and it's just this. There was so many things I could relate to with that character. He kept trying to escape the life that he had, and because he saw a better life outside of it, and he kept trying to escape to that, but he kept sacrificing that dream for somebody else throughout his whole life. And it's just beautiful. Man, is it beautiful. It's just really well done. But like none of those vignettes, none of those like different time periods to go to are happening during Christmas. It's literally like that last scene when they're like, listen, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings.
That's right.
Like they're in front of a Christmas tree. That's the only Christmas that happens in the whole fucking movie.
That's right. Yeah. That's a great part. That's not. I actually didn't grow up watching that. I only watched it maybe when I was around 18, because because of a thing in the Crow graphic novel that I was trying. There's like a scene at Christmas where they talk about or watching It's a Wonderful Life in a flashback, and so I didn't have the ability to film that flashback. But my solution was like, oh, I can film kind of a impression of like I could film the Christmas tree a little bit, maybe have It's a Wonderful Life in the background and get what I really needed, which was like this tree bulb, what do you call it, like whatever, something falling off the trees to connect with the present time. So I watched it then so I could figure out a point in the movie to have playing on an imaginary television. But yeah, and I think I don't know exactly what my reaction was at the time, but I definitely remember being like, oh, this is great. And then now every time you're going to have the option to want to watch it. And I think there sometimes where the bride baby will be like, this is such a depressing movie. Do we really want to see it? But like, if you do sit with that movie for a few minutes, you get sucked in. It's just so, it's so great. Yeah.
It's not depressing.
No, ultimately no.
Depressing too. And like the theme is he's committing suicide.
Right.
Like he's gonna
things get so bad for him.
It's not Christmas is the catalyst. Him committing suicide is the catalyst for the whole story.
Feeling literally like the world would be better off without him. was like they have to get you there.
And you find out that it's a matter of circumstance. Like it's a solution to a problem that like, and that's what he has done. He has literally sacrificed himself every time he's needed to for that savings and trust. Right.
Yeah.
Like he didn't and now this is the ultimate sacrifice that he feels like he can do to save it because his life insurance policy, right? In that, like, that's what will keep his family from going into the poorhouse. And maybe they could save and they won't be shamed and all this stuff for the theft of the deposit that is lost.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is like he's thinking of killing himself over fucking money, man, over like $4,000 or something like that, right? And man, this is a really shitty way to explain It's a Wonderful Life.
But it is kind of dark like that, like at times. But that's not the general thing you come away with it.
Well, and the thing you come away with is that time and time again, this man sacrificed he put others before himself, and he didn't even think of it that way. That's what made it so selfless. Like it was just, no, this is what you do because you should do that. Like, and all of it came from this. The only point of it of humanness that he has is that he also likes sticking it to the rich guy that wants to just destroy his bank. So he does stick it. He does get a satisfaction of like putting people in houses that aren't tenements that the rich guy owns, and like that Italian guy that owns the bar, who's you're my best friend, like oh my gosh, I'm crying. I'm starting to cry just thinking about.
Yeah, that is a movie that a real tearjerker.
Like, it's so fucking good, and just like, but everybody, his last day, while he's thinking about how to solve this problem, he interacts with all of those people who you've seen throughout his life in all these flashbacks, and they all pray for him to be happy. Like in that, oh God, it's just like,
Yeah.
it's so good. So again, if you just need, like, if you've never watched that movie, now would be a really good time for the first time to watch it, I think.
Yeah, I will second that. That's a great. I'm so glad to like hear about that. That's really nice. We've been watching a lot of those old. We did this last year. The bride doesn't like the sound of old films, like I guess they recorded it on, just the crackle and stuff. She doesn't like that.
Yeah.
I find that comforting. But I think last year we watched A Shop Around the Corner, which happens to be the movie on which You've Got Mail is based, has Jimmy Stewart in it. It's a lovely little movie. Takes place like in Europe, I think, for some reason. So we watched that. We watched
that's a bookstore, and You've Got Mail. The Shop Around the Corner.
Yeah. And actually, so I was just following. I knew this was something like this was true. It's a Wonderful Life was released on January 7th, 1947. At least that's what it says on IMDb. So it's a January movie. So this is
there you go. Well, they just it was some big anniversary or Jimmy Stewart's there was some thing, but this Christmas was a big commemorative thing. So they were talking a lot about Jimmy Stewart, and he was, and then I talked to Stan the Man actually a lot about this because I was like, we watched It's a Wonderful Life. It was my first time, and I'm wrecked right now. Like it really was uplifting. And then he kind of like, I felt like at first he kind of like brushed it off, but then like the next day he's like, dude, you're right. It was so what I needed to watch.
Oh, he hadn't seen it, or he just hadn't seen it in a while?
No, I think he hadn't seen it in a while, but it had come out. So like Jimmy Stewart he was a pretty famous actor when World War II broke out, I guess. And so then he won an Oscar and then enlisted like almost immediately after winning an Oscar.
Wow.
And then it was kind of a struggle because he kind of fought the entire time to be an actual real soldier, while the military kind of wanted to capitalize on his fame to like keep morale high both home and overseas. And then Hollywood, of course, is like, don't fucking let him get hurt like at all because he's worth a lot of money to us. And like, so all these conflicting things. But at the end of the day, like he did really like see some shit, like because he like flew with his plane almost got, his bombing crew almost got shot down, and he saw awful things. And then he came back from the war and had what we would call post-traumatic stress disorder, but then shot It's a Wonderful Life. So like his emotion, his raw emotion that he has in that, it's all real. Like he's remembering like this awful shit he just went through with the war, and then is making this gut-wrenching fucking movie. So like the performance is so, everybody's good, but just like who would become his wife, but like his love interest in the movie and him have this charisma with each other, but his performance is just, I think that realism that he brings because of that trauma that he was dealing with just makes it. I don't think it would be the same, as awful as that sounds, and I hate the idea of capitalizing on somebody's sorrow, but it would not be the same movie, I don't feel like, if he had not brought that level of realism to it. But it just, his eyes, when he is like broke up at the idea of things in that movie, it's awful. It's just fucking awful. And it rips your fucking heart out. Man, is it good. Great movie.
Oh, what a great pull. I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, shit. Well, I guess we didn't talk Mandalorian specifically, but I'm very glad to have gotten...
Oh, are you kidding me? We talked for 2 hours about why I hated it.
Yeah, but really the end. But I'm okay with that. Yeah. I was just wanted to acknowledge it for anyone, any bitter Star Wars fans wringing their hands. But like,
yeah, no,
we would have talked about those other things if we were into them.
The last like 5 seconds. That's my thing with Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I
really liked. I want to just like mention what the episode was that I really like to see Rosario Dawson as that Ashoka I don't know. I'm looking at her name spelled out. And I'm like, Shokatana. Oh, I see. It makes sense when I hear it, but in print, it's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool. And even though I don't really know that character, just I like her. So it was cool to see her. And that was the episode. It was episode 13, The Jedi, that I liked so well. Because I was like, I fucking think that's Michael Biehn. and the bride was like, who? I'm like, what do you mean? Who? That's fucking...
that's the one that looks like a samurai movie. Like it just looks it's so good. So here's a little expanded universe that I don't know if you know or not. So Ahsoka Tano, because you don't know who that character is.
Not really, just like the cartoon, right? Or
Skywalker's apprentice during the Clone Wars.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
so the Clone Wars animated series?
Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I know of it, and I've seen like
just if you know of it, right? Yeah. So like, it started as a feature-length movie, and then there was a like 4 seasons of an animated show that are called the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
she's a major character in that show.
I have a sense of that.
She is actually Anakin's apprentice. Like
that, I didn't know.
Anakin Skywalker trained her.
Oh wow, that's interesting. That's very cool, actually. Yeah. Well, and that's so then that same episode that we meet her is that the Bruce Lee connection that I mentioned is Diane Inosanto, Diane Lee Inosanto. So she's Bruce Lee's goddaughter, but like if you ever see like Game of Death, anyone who's seen like Bruce Lee documentaries will know who Dan Inosanto is. He was like a close friend of Bruce Lee's, the guy that introduced him to the nunchucks that he used in so many of his movies and kind of, but so that's his daughter. And I had just seen like last year, I think, I heard about it on the Bruce Lee podcast, like an old episode I was re-listening to. They would do this thing. They would call out awesome Asians or Happas. They were calling out Diane Lee Inosanto's movie. She's been a stunt person for many, many years, but she directed this movie called The Sensei, which is a little bit like something like The Karate Kid, if The Karate Kid were gay, and like how, and then there's like HIV involved. It's like almost it's like a period piece around the time where people didn't understand HIV very well. It's I don't know. It was really, it's kind of rough in terms of like the production values and stuff, but I was really like moved by that film. And there's just one like just very simple kick that I saw Diane Inosanto do in that movie that I do like every other day in the garage, like for a minute solid. And I'm always like, I'm just like fucking Diane Lee Inosanto. Okay. So she doesn't do a lot of acting though. So when I saw her, she plays that magistrate Morgan Elsbeth, maybe I'm saying right, the person that like fights Ahsoka Tano at the end, as when the Mandalorian is out with Michael Biehn. But I was just through the roof when I saw her. I'm like, that's fucking Diane Lee Inosanto, and Michael Biehn in one episode. So I really enjoyed that. I guess I just wanted to mention that one in particular. Robert Rodriguez directed one, which I was trying to like place, but I can't remember which. And I don't know, the guy, we gotta say, like, he took his fucking helmet off. That meant everything to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, but he had already done it. He did it at the end of the first season too. Like he.
I don't remember. Off. I didn't remember that. Well, we didn't see his face though, did we?
Like bleeding and stuff, and he was about to die, and so he took it off, and they like put the stuff on him, and he got better after.
I forget
he put it on.
Everything. It's really upsetting.
He took his helmet off once before already, and then, but then he took it off for the Bill Burr episode. That was a great.
Yeah, I love that.
It was fucking fantastic. Like that Bill Burr episode, the whole like I guess Star Wars fans started trolling him because they're like, why the fuck does his character have a Boston accent in Star Wars? And he's like, C-3PO sounds like a fucking like British butler. You need to tell me that spaceships flying through space, you can't handle an accent? Like Bill Burr, right? Like
that's good. Yeah.
But he like ends up, he like gives it to him. It's so true. It's like that kind of shit doesn't bother me. Bad special effects fucking bother me when you're the fucking industry. Like you created the special effects industry.
Right.
Like you.
Industrial Light and Magic and Disney. Yeah. They should have done better. They should have done better for sure.
Or just not have done it.
Right.
That was my other take was it's like, why does Luke Skywalker even need to be in this? Like, why can't we just have a Star Wars movie that has all new characters? That's all like there's a whole galaxy in there that all follow those rules. Why can't we just see another part of that galaxy?
Yeah, like a Rogue One without the ending, or without the Princess Leia at the end, or
yeah. Like,
well, I guess that's got Darth Vader and stuff too. But
yeah, I just feel like if we're ever gonna there's only so much that we're going to be able to tap into that one family, right? In this one arc, this Palpatine arc, which is really what Rise of the Skywalker made it. It's all about Palpatine, right? And not about the Skywalkers. And so if it's following that whole arc, there's only so much we're going to be able to tap into that to get everything. Like, let's just start expanding. Why don't we just I don't know. If you are getting me on repeating myself.
That's 10-19. Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm fat. I'm hot.
I'm mad.
I'm angry. I'm sweating.
I'm broken up with Star Wars.
Watch it. It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good way to go. Yeah.
Watch It's a Wonderful Life.
I think we can all agree on that. And titties.
And titties. It's a Wonderful Life and titties. Gosh, man, a good set of titties will just brighten your day.
Oh, jeez. Babes, as a teaser for Babes Look Best in Print. This is getting terrible. I gotta get all this out. I was just thinking about Cobra Kai when Johnny's like, because the kid's like, I can find all this on my phone. And he's like, Babes Look Better in Print.
Yeah. So awesome.
Well, this was fun. Okay. I love you. I'm grateful to talk to you, and we'll do it again soon.
Remember the Mysterious Stranger.
The Mysterious Stranger. The Book of the Mysterious Stranger coming to Disney 2022.
Like, could you just imagine? Just like then it would be like this thing where like every season of Mandalorian, we're like, when's the Mysterious Stranger episode gonna happen? Like, when's he? How are they gonna work
like
this season?
Just sometimes. I like that.
Yeah.
Make him the fucking Boba Fett of it instead of the real, like Boba Fett of the Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So like that's why Boba Fett works so well. I think was because I think we cracked it. Disney, call us up.
They'll do in 3 months. They're gonna retcon everything that way. Yeah. Watch. So, all right, buddy.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care.
Bride and the dogs.
Oh, I will. Likewise.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye. So there you have it. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Moto for our rockin' theme music. Thank you to Palmer for being Palmer. Thank you for subscribing on your podcast platform of choice and telling anyone you think might enjoy our show about it. Head over to lwsdpod.com if that interests you. LWSDpod on Twitter. lwsdpod@gmail.com for encouragement or complaints. But don't send us any complaints. Come on. We all got enough problems. All right. Until next time, cheers, long walkers. May the force be with you. And the Mysterious Stranger.
Long walk, short drink. Long walk, short drink. You've taken that long walk, no short drink. This was a long walk, fucking short drink. We'll get there eventually.
I smell dog shit. I bet a dog shit on the floor somewhere around here.